As an emotionally mature woman who's embracing her feminine energy and power in romance, it's important to build out a supportive belief system. Your mindset determines what you notice in love, in life, in general, right? The things that stick out to you. And your mindset and your energy are going to determine what experiences you attract with men. In today's episode, I'm giving you 3 ways to overcome dating anxiety and attract your soulmate with your feminine energy and power. Let's start with number 1. So, your soulmate connection is not something that you ever really need advice on. You've got to drop the middle school rules, and that's my favorite way of describing this. Your romantic relationship is not a group project, and your soulmate connection is not something that you need advice on. As a woman, your feminine energy is connected to your intuition. You know when a man is right for you, and you know when a man is not the one for you. Consulting with your friends and outside sources is immature, and it doesn't empower you to be the woman who makes good decisions for herself. You are the leader of your life, and your intuition is the most powerful tool that you have. To trust your intuition, you've got to see yourself as capable of making the right choices in your own life. As an adult woman, gone are the days of having conversations with your girlfriends where you discuss, what do you think that he meant when he said this? Or what should I respond back to him? Your romantic relationship is not a group project, and your soulmate connection is not something that you need advice on. Your soulmate relationship is something you were created to experience. It's a part of who you are, and nothing outside of you can tell you about your own soul. If your soulmate is eternally connected to you, then your soul knows. Your soul knows who he is. Your soul knows where he is. Your soul knows how to guide him to you. Your soul knows how to position you for him to find you. As a woman, as a divine feminine, the knowing is like your whole thing. I invite you to journal on this. What are you afraid to find out? What are you afraid that your soul might say? And when you answer those questions, you will have discovered the exact fears and thoughts that are blocking your intuition in romance. And you'll have to excuse my MacBook that acts like it's about to fucking blow up. My God. Okay, refocus my mind. When you answer those questions, you will have discovered the exact fears and thoughts that are blocking your intuition in romance. And when you look at what you have written down, that's exactly what you've got to clear so that you can hear what the infinite intelligence within you has to say. And here's an affirmation for you. My soulmate is my destiny, and I am being guided to him one day at a time, one inspired action at a time. And here's an exercise. Close your eyes and take a few breaths. Then ask, tell me about my soulmate, and listen to what comes up. It might be an idea, it might be a vision, it might be a knowing, but write down your answer. Now, when I did that exercise, I was shocked. I realized that I was afraid to trust my intuition regarding my soulmate because of mistakes and choices that I'd made in the past. I previously was really committed to pursuing a relationship with a man that I didn't actually want, but I was really committed to pursuing this relationship with him because I was told by a psychic that we were going to be together. And so I felt like I had this duty. I felt like I had this responsibility. I felt like it had to happen. And when it didn't manifest, and I walked away from the connection, I felt like I had maybe done something wrong. And I was afraid. I was afraid to walk away from the connection, even though I knew that he was not the right guy for me. I was afraid to even ask my intuition. It's like I had this knowing, but I was afraid to look at the knowing because I had low self-worth. I didn't think that I could find a man that was so handsome or successful ever again. I thought that was probably the best that I was ever going to be able to get. At the time, I didn't know that I was operating out of low self-worth, but I know the things that I know now. So doing that exercise brought up some fear within me that I got to move through. After I moved through that fear and that fear of trusting myself, because I processed what was coming up, what my intuition tells me about my soulmate, the information comes through and it just feels right. So in my life, my soulmate isn't something that I'm asking for advice on anymore. I don't need or want to hear anyone else's opinion. This is my life. I know who I am and what I want. And I know in my heart who was made to give that to me and live that out with me. That's all I need. As a woman who trusts herself and her intuition, my inner knowing is all that I need. It guides me well, and I believe that it would be hypermasculine, aka unsupportive, to ever believe or even entertain the thought that it could lead me wrong. I have a relationship with my intuition. So you've got to develop a relationship with your intuition. And my point as we come to wrap up this first tip is that I know who my soulmate is, and my confidence only allows him to come in sooner and quicker and faster. So I invite you to journal on this and then let me know what your answers are in the comments or via email. When is a time that you pursued a relationship without checking with your soul first? What do you use to guide you in relationships? What do you use or allow to influence your behavior in love? Those are some great things to reflect on. And now let's move on to number 2. So tip number 1 was trust your intuition. Tip number 2 is you've got to understand that men's behavior doesn't mean anything about you. Men's behavior means nothing about you. A lot of your dating anxiety is coming from the insecurity that you might be rejected, abandoned, or otherwise end up alone. And here's what you've got to understand. Relationships are no longer a source of adrenaline where you might be rejected, abandoned, or let down. Whether or not he's interested doesn't mean anything. Whether or not he texts you back doesn't mean anything. Whether or not you get the response that you want from a man doesn't mean anything. And when I say that it doesn't mean anything, what I mean is that you get to have the relationship of your dreams regardless of one man's behavior or even regardless of a few men's behaviors. When you think or act from the idea that if this guy doesn't text me back, then I don't get the guy that I want, you're creating an experience where the stakes are high. You're creating unnecessary drama that just isn't actually any fun. The woman who might end up alone is an identity that you're choosing to assume. And you don't have to live from that energy. You are not the woman who might end up alone. You are the woman who's destined for a soulmate love that is so great that they write novels about it. Reflect for a moment on your own self-perception. How often are you approaching relationships and attempting to build connection while being afraid to say the wrong thing? That's giving way too much weight and power to someone's opinion of you. If you approach romance trying not to be rejected, your intentions are all fucked up. You're not trying not to be rejected. You're aligning with the love of your life. There's a big difference between those two actions, don't you agree? Trying not to be rejected and aligning with the love of your life, right? Those are two completely different energies. You are the woman who was made for an amazing love. It is a part of who you are, and that cannot be changed. It is utterly impossible to say or do or be the wrong thing for the right man. So loosen up and be willing to be yourself, even if some men might not get it. Be honest about who you are and what you want, even if some unknown man might not be receptive to that. That's not your responsibility to deal with. Your job is to embody the vibration of the version of yourself that is madly in love and aligned with her highest soulmate. Your job is to use your imagination for good, seeing yourself connecting with men who love your honesty and directness. Journal on that. How might a man positively respond to your authentic personality? What great things could come in response to you telling a man that you're seeking marriage and a family? When you've answered those questions in your journal, you've began emitting, you've begun, I don't like how I worded that. When you've answered those questions in your journal, you'll have begun emitting a new frequency that attracts your soulmate, the man who is ready, willing, and eager to love you for who you are. And that leads us to our third and final tip. Your power is in your focus. In life, you're going to get what you focus on. When you focus on what you don't want to happen or where you don't want to go, you find yourself there anyway. And the same is true for what happens when you clearly see yourself receiving what you desire. This is the principle you're going to use when manifesting your true love. When you focus on ending up with your true love, and when you focus on being accepted and desired by men, that is what you experience. That is what your subconscious mind seeks out, as your mind is always looking for evidence to support your beliefs. It's also the vibration you emit as you think about and see yourself as the kind of woman who has a one true love. So when you focus on being in the end, when you focus on being with your one true love, you're emitting that vibration. You're attracting that experience into your life, right? And that's feminine leadership. As the feminine leader of your life, you've got to know who you are. You've got to know what you were made for. You've got to decide that you're a woman who gets shown up for. You've got to decide that you're a woman who has a true love that seeks her out, period. At its foundation, your soulmate relationship is a source of safety, security, and protection. When you decide that you are a woman who was made for an amazing love, then you are setting the stage for that safe, stable, and reliable connection. You're not waiting for a man to come in and make all of your dreams come true. You're not a sad single woman until a man shows up and chooses to be with you. You're a woman who sees herself being deeply and completely loved. You're a woman who is deeply and completely loved. And as you practice seeing yourself as this loved woman in this amazing union, it becomes a part of your identity. And from that place, your soulmate relationship feels natural. So when your soulmate actually shows up, it's an event that was expected. You don't need to be frantic, worried, anxious, and scared in romance. You get to be trusting, expecting, and anticipating him to show up in romance. When the guy shows up, when your manifestation shows up, it's going to feel exactly how you expected it to. It's going to feel however you've been practicing it in your mind. So if you're in that frantic, worried, anxious energy, when it shows up, it will feel frantic, worried, and anxious, and you'll have to transmute it anyway. So you can just segment and tend. You can just get ahead of it and be in a trusting, expecting, and positive, anticipatory energy. So you use your focus to direct your energy, which is what creates your reality. In a way, as you're doing this, you're normalizing that soulmate love relationship even before it shows up. You're normalizing that trusting, positive experience even before it shows up, right? Your soulmate is a puzzle piece that you know is there somewhere, and it's just obvious and inevitable that you're going to find him and plop him into his rightful place in your life. When your one true love becomes your obvious, inevitable destiny, and you see yourself as the woman who was made to be loved and sought after by her one true love, then the guy just has to show up. Like at that point, what else is there to say or do? It's who you are. It's who he is. It's what the two of you intended to experience before you incarnated on earth. In other words, it is what it is. And nothing can change that. And that's the mindset that's going to set the stage for a safe, stable, and reliable soulmate connection that stands the test of time. And I absolutely know this to be true because it's the same process that I use for calling in my soul aligned customers, audience members, and clients. The energetic shit works, period, point blank. So you use your focus, you use your thoughts, you use your energy so that you can feel good today, and you can normalize that experience of being with your soulmate before he shows up. And then you don't have to suffer or be anxious. You're welcome. So this is the last thing I'm going to tell you to journal on. And I'm going to tell you to journal on this every single morning because now you're setting intentions. Journal on who are you ready to be and what are you ready to experience in love. That's one way to start using your focus to focus on where you're going. Because what you focus on absolutely expands, okay? Those are our 3 tips for today. And you have to understand that none of those 3 tips work effectively with your past still in the way. So if you haven't forgiven yourself for the unsupportive choices you made with previous men, if you haven't developed a relationship with yourself where you feel worthy of a man that checks all of your boxes, if you haven't connected to your emotions enough to hear your intuition, then your romantic life will continue to be a group project where you're running around seeking out the approval and guidance of external forces who can never know what's truly best for you. And if you don't heal the parts of you that feel personally attacked when you're rejected, if you don't work with the inner child that was abandoned and neglected by parents who didn't show up for her emotional needs or personal interests, if you haven't properly addressed the part of you that is still terrified that she might end up alone, then you will continue to have difficulty being your authentic self in romance. You will do your best to avoid being rejected, and you will continue giving the power of what choices you make and which details you share over to random fucking men, complete strangers who you have decided are the people that determine whether or not you get love. And when you don't heal from your past, you cannot focus on the future of your desire. Your limiting beliefs literally won't let you. You will journal and visualize a little bit and then you will hit a block. You will freak out and not understand why. You will continue to attract unwanted men and negative dating experiences because you will have done nothing about the stories and pain being repeated on autopilot within your subconscious mind. What I mean to say is that you will continue to subconsciously self-sabotage your romantic life until you take complete control of your energy. And that only happens through introspective healing work. As the woman who is committed to aligning with her soulmate love, I'm sure you will be thrilled to hear about how I can help you with this. The Love After Loss course is the professional woman's guide to processing the pain of the past, opening up to love after heartbreak, and manifesting your soulmate. Across 5 modules and several bonuses, I'm taking you deep into your past relationships and your childhood experiences so that you can rectify the damage of the past before building out supportive belief systems that support your one true love in actually showing up. You can learn more about the course contents, you can read client and student testimonials, and enroll using the link in the description box or the show notes. I love you, and I'll talk to you again next week.